And we're live. How you getting on, Andy?
Yeah, g'day, Jared. How you doing?
What time is it for you right now? Because every time we have an Australian on, it's rough.
Crikey, it's 17 minutes past 7 in the morning on Sunday morning. So, must really
Early.
like chatting to you if you get me up before the sun on a Sunday morning, mate.
Well, thank God. Dude, when we had Kai on, she was sitting there like normal, and it was 6 a.m. for her. And
Yeah, right.
she was acting like it was 6 p.m. Like she was just sitting there like fine and dandy as if like the day was well ahead of her. She's a
Yeah, well,
monster.
I'm sure it probably was for Kai. Yeah, that's not that unusual, I don't think. Yeah, she's well, she's a go-getter, that's for sure.
She's a beast, yeah.
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 Kai's fantastic.
One thing that freaked me out with her though was like she says she actually hunts all her own food. But she'll have eggs as well. She likes eggs. But I was that's intense.
Yeah, it's definitely been a big motivator for her, I think. Finding that balance and having those ethical reasons for taking up bow hunting and hunting in general. Yeah.
Yeah. We did talk about that the bow hunting thing over here. It's not a thing. But like her
No.
partner is like really for it coming back to the UK because they only got rid of it in like the mid 50s over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that, Jared?
Like they only got rid of like bow hunting in the UK in the mid 50s or something.
Right.
It's a historic thing. Like it's a pain in the ass not being able to bow hunt here.
Yeah. I knew it wasn't legal anywhere in the UK, which it's surprising. But look, it's always facing struggles here in Australia as well. I think there's a lot of misinformation and assumptions that go hand in hand when you talk about bow hunting, especially in regards to the efficacy of it. There's you hear a lot of and certainly like I completely understand, because before I started to get into bow hunting myself, I had all the same assumptions, and it really wasn't something I ever planned to get involved with. But it just, the more I learned, the more I understood about it, and the more I could see that it was a means within my grasp to hunt my own meat and to know exactly where that food has come from. So yeah, a lot like Kai, I got into bow hunting for those reasons. It was probably a choice of, should I become a vegetarian and just cut meat out altogether, or do I want to find a way to face these realities about eating meat and what it takes to take the life of an animal and butcher the animal and share that meat and the sort of rewards that you get from doing it that way, knowing exactly where your meat has come from. I'm not privileged to the point where I get to hunt all the meat that I eat, but I am very choosy about where I source my meat from that I buy. Excuse me. But yeah, I think there is a lot of misinformation about bow hunting, and that probably is where some of these restrictions come from.
Yeah, because like if you talk to someone like and say like, oh, well, what's your opinion on hunting? No, normally the conversation goes along the lines of, I think you should be allowed to do it, but I don't like people who hunt for sport. But then even if you know
Mm.
like anyone in the hunting community or whatever, I've never met someone who just hunts for sport.
No, it's certainly pretty unusual. I've never met anyone in that category myself either. And I guess, yeah, I mean, hunting for sport, it definitely does happen. Trophy hunting. Uh, However, there's a pretty strong argument that even when it's um, purely for trophy hunting, that it can have a really positive
Mm.
effect on conservation at the same time. And
Yeah,
in places like Africa, where you see these game reserves. Now, I'm not an expert on this sort of stuff, so but you know, in the United States, for example, the tag system, uh, hunting really does make up the bulk of the funding for conservation in that country, and um, a lot of that kind of hunting could be considered trophy hunting, because you are going after large bucks um, and you are looking for that big animal, but an animal that old has, the idea is that it's passed on its genes, that
mm.
you know so in a way, even if you are taking it for the antlers, it's still about maintaining a healthy population. And these animals are native to America. The difference being in Australia that, we don't hunt native animals here, um, although they are definitely culled, and their numbers have to be maintained. So that's done by professional hunters. I mean, um, there's not a lot of Australian wildlife that would lend itself to bow hunting anyway. I'm slowly discovering, not through trial and error, mind you, just through
How do you mean?
educating myself. Well, kangaroos, for example, they're kind of like our deer, I suppose. They're grazers. Um, they move around a lot at night. They're always getting, unfortunately, struck by vehicles and things like that. Their numbers can really explode in certain areas, so they have to be controlled. But yeah, something I learned recently from my mate Caleb O'Grady. We were talking about um, well, the kangaroo is one of the most efficient movers along land, and because of that, its heart and lungs are incredibly small because they're so efficient. And you add to that thing bounces. It doesn't make the bow and arrow a good weapon of choice, apparently, for this kind of animal. Because you're with a bow and arrow, of course, you're looking for blood loss to be the killing factor when you are hunting. So you're looking for double lung and heart, preferably shots like that, which just become really very, very difficult with a golf ball sized heart and tiny lungs. So that's something I learned recently. And however, these animals, they do get controlled. They do get culled regularly at a great expense. And a lot of the time when animals are professionally culled like that, the meat isn't used. It goes to waste. And when you can have a system that just money from hunting goes back into conservation. The meat in Australia, at least from these invasive pests, can be used and enjoyed. Then it's a win-win situation. But I wouldn't say hunting is very mainstream at all in Australia, and that might just be because I'm not from a family of gung ho hunters, but I still think it's on the outskirts just a bit, even though there are a lot of places where you can hunt in Australia, and bow hunting is available all around the country, I believe. I have to check on that, but
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose in a way you're lucky, and in the States they're lucky with that, but unfortunately over here, like I competed in the World Bow Hunting Championship,
yes,
having never bow hunted. You
yeah,
know, like
yeah, it's interesting.
like a lot of these competitions that they call them bow hunting over here. So if I ever brought that to the States or whatever, it kind of looks ridiculous if I've never actually gone hunting. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess. But there, I mean, people that have no interest in hunting that enjoy 3D archery, and I can really see the appeal in that. And yeah, I mean, do you ever have plans to go bow hunting one day?
I suppose if I'm ever in a position where it's practical and cost effective, then yeah. But to do it now, like if I went out yesterday and I went, I have to go to somewhere where it's legal in Europe, and then like bringing it back over to Ireland, getting it sorted in Ireland. Even if that's legal here, I wouldn't know. It would just be so expensive. It wouldn't be worth it at that point.
Right. Yeah.
But say I was in the States or something for an extended
Sure.
period, and I got the chance to
Sure.
hunt. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should come to Australia.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, kind of like the hunting culture over there. Just kind of like laid back about it. But in the States, well, a lot of things in the States are fairly controversial, but hunting is one of those apparently. So, yeah.
Yeah. They've got some great things I'd like to see over here in the States. Laws around requirements to harvest the meat before you harvest any trophy parts, things like that. The whole tag system keeps everything in check, and money flowing back into conservation. So yeah, there's a lot of good things that the hunting system over in the US
I
and
both
Canada.
love and hate the tag system.
Right.
Like you could go out there looking for deer, but you might see something else like you want to get, but don't have a tag for it. You have to go on.
No, it certainly seems to make it interesting, but I guess because you're hunting native species, it's it must be important to keep track of numbers, I suppose. And they're not cheap either, from what I understand. If you don't use the tag that season, that's money lost. And it's definitely a different story here. Although there are some species, I think, where you do need a tag. Certain species of deer, I'm not sure, chittle.
I know black bear you have to have a tag.
Well, in the States, you'd need a tag for pretty much everything, I think, depending on where you are. But in Australia, yeah, your seasons are wide open, and you are certainly more flexible when you go hunting. Like, we'll see what we find, and there were 3 or even 4 species of deer supposedly in the area where we were last time. They weren't anywhere near us, but they were around. Yeah, we saw signs of them plenty.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool, and you can you see pigs and you see foxes, and yeah, you might see goats depending on where you are, and so the variety in Australia is definitely good. And like you said, being able to mix it up a bit on the go keeps it interesting. Um, but yeah, it's it's certainly something that I sort of fell into gradually, and just educated myself along the way. Um, but when you talk about doing bow hunting competitions in 3D, can you tell me a bit about the like what are the restrictions in that kind of class? Has it got to do with draw weight or arrow weight, things like that?
Like, are there any restrictions to shooting 3D targets?
Yeah, when you talk about your bow hunting competitions, what are the requirements to meet to make it into those competitions
Um,
for your setup and everything?
I
What
mean,
makes them bow hunting?
the one behind me there now, that's my dad's setup. So that's, a nice standard recurve setup. Only
Hmm.
attachment you could have on that is a stabilizer. I think it has to
Okay,
be below 12 inches, or
okay,
might even be below 6. Not too sure on that one. With bare bow, which is, I almost find it ironic. I can have every attachment under the sun except the sight. Doesn't seem very bare to me.
really?
But you've probably seen my page. We've
Yeah,
known each other for like what, 2 3 years.
yeah.
You've seen my stuff. I normally have long wads on. I swapped out and put on just like standard American style barebow weights.
Oh,
I'm not
okay, yeah,
gonna
yeah,
keep it
yeah.
that. But those are the only two weird ones. Like there's two kind of recurves, or there's three kinds of recurve classes: barebow, bow hunter, and Olympic style.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's really interesting. So, does it? Do your arrows have to meet certain specs?
I
Do they
don't
have
think
to
there's
be
any
heavy
restriction
hunting
on
weight?
it.
Oh, okay.
But like, there's no. It's only field points or a variation of a field point. You
Yeah,
go in there with something else, you'll be torn off the course. Because, dude,
yeah,
imagine shooting like a normal like broadhead at a 3D target and pulling it out. You take
yeah.
half the target. You know,
They wouldn't last long. Yeah.
yeah, they would not like you.
No, no,
So, just out of
no.
respect for clubs, you shoot field points.
Of course, and safety as well. Sure.
Mm.
Um,
Remember a guy he
yeah.
brought like those whistle tips. You shoot
Oh,
up in the
yeah.
air and it does that
I love
ridiculous
them.
whistle.
Yeah.
One guy, he brought one of those when he shot into a target, taken off the course.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
didn't
the,
like
the
that.
entire whistle just full of like 3D foam. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. They're kind of chunky, those tips. I really enjoy playing around with them. Actually, it helps me to hear the arrow. They're great for lobbing up in the air.
yeah,
Um,
like cloud shooting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've never formally done any of that, but it's a cool little game I like to play with friends when we're at the
Yeah,
range. Yeah.
arrow roulette,
Yes, yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
dude.
Light up knocks. It's always good
Uh,
fun. Yeah.
I mean, that'd be rough for you because like you got that whole thing going on. With what's it called again? Rod monochromatism.
Yeah. Close enough. Yeah. Yeah.
If you look up in the sky, is that just like bright as all can be?
Yeah,
Uh,
look, during the day, it's yeah, it's my least favorite place to look. It's bright.
I'd
Yeah.
imagine. Don't look the sun.
Yeah, no, the sun's not my best friend. No, I like it when it's getting a bit darker. But that's a good time to bring out the lighted knocks when the sun's going down, and yeah, you want to lob some arrows. It's always good fun. Yeah.
I was going to ask because we brought up like arrow roulette. You know, when you see like archery movies or movies that have archery in them,
Mm.
what's your general reaction? Like, I'll go movie by movie with this one. You see the recent Robin Hood?
Well, yeah, I haven't seen it. Like, is that the one, the most recent one with the recurved bows and I don't even know the
With
actors.
Jamie J. Fox.
Is it right? And
No,
um,
Jamie Fox, not
Lars
Jay.
Anderson helped in the
Yeah, he was
making of
the
that, right?
advisor.
It's the
Yeah,
consultant. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the reason I haven't seen it is it just looks like garbage. Like, it's really hard to like. I know it's very cliche, right? But it's really hard to watch an archery movie that's just it's got really bad archery in it once you know what you're looking for. And all you had to do is look at the clips on the trailer for that movie, and I knew it was just going to annoy the shit out of me the whole time. There's
yeah.
no way I could get through that.
Hmm.
Which is a real shame because I don't know, like archery is really hard. Don't get me wrong. I mean, right? It's hard
Yeah.
to actually be good at it, but it's not that hard to fake it on film. Like
Mm.
the technique of archery is incredibly simple, and yeah, I um, lockdown classic is I might as well watch Lord of the Rings trilogy again,
I was
and so
watching
that
that
was
this
that.
morning.
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I got no problem with the archery in that, for the most part. In fact, it got me all fired up, and I had to go and have a little practice session in the garage. It's about as far as I've been able to shoot in the last few weeks, but yeah, it's interesting when it's a movie like that. I probably have to watch it. I don't know. What's another one that recently?
Avengers.
Avengers, right? There's an archer in that. I don't really
Hawkeye.
get into those movies, to be honest. Yeah. Who plays Hawkeye?
Jeremy Renner.
Right. Um, I get confused with people think I look like
Ryan
Ryan
Reynolds.
Reynolds. Yeah.
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 Dude, you
I think,
seriously look like Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, I don't know, Jared. I think you're all a little more vision impaired than I am, to be honest. I don't see it, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't got into the Avengers or the Marvel Archers. There was a recent Rambo movie that was meant to be just awful, and
Yeah,
he did
no.
some archery in that,
He's
and
70 something and he's jacked. But like you can't get past the point of saying he's been in every like even like your parents would have seen him when he was acting back in the day. He's been at it
yeah,
too long. He's the age is starting to actually look show on him. Like you can't convince me like 70. I'll check his age. I think he's 74.
yeah. Look, well, there's something extra's been added to that gene pool, that's for sure.
74-year-old Sylvester Stallone. You cannot convince me that he's like still playing mid 50s, badass. His mom made it to 98. She almost got that to
Wow.
100. So I reckon he'll probably get it because he takes care of himself.
Does he? I'm
Well,
sure he does.
he's 74 and jacked.
Sure, sure.
Well,
Look,
you think it
I'm
could be
sure
like
he's the pillar of
testosterone or
health.
something?
Oh, like, sure, right? Isn't that
Actually, that one makes a bit more sense. Yeah.
nothing out of the ordinary these days, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be for me, of course, but seems like that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You ever
yeah.
watch like UFC and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do really enjoy combat sport at the moment. Yeah, well, I have for years and years.
You watching tonight's one, or
I
I
don't
guess
think
this
I'll get
morning's
to
one for
see it
you?
live. Yeah, no, they it comes on about lunch for us. But yeah, I don't think I'll get down the pub this time. I'm just going to ease back um, into actual real life rather than rush out on the first. This is a long weekend here in Melbourne, so there's a lot of people wanting to make the most of lockdown restrictions easing slightly. But I think I'm just gonna, not be part of that first wave. But I will be eagerly awaiting the results because is he I can't pronounce his name, I'm afraid.
Israel
He's
Adesanya.
Yes, the one. Yes, he's Australian, and he will be. Well, he's
He's a
New
Kiwi.
Zealander. Yeah, and
He's not Aussie when you want him to be. A Kiwi when you don't
he's
want him to
not.
be.
No, yeah, yeah. Well, look, he's geographically he's very close, so that's always exciting. And plus, yeah, he's an incredible fighter. So, love to see what happens there. Yeah, I don't get to follow it quite as closely as I used to, but I just love it's definitely my favorite sport to watch. Yeah.
Oh, it's a good one. The only reason I brought it up was like the testosterone thing we were talking about, like because remember that was the thing back in the day, and then everyone who like got off it, they turned to mush.
Yeah, well, you
Alistair
look at
Overeem, quite
Alistair Overeem
notably,
is the classic one, right? Yeah.
his final fight, like or the most recent one with Francis Ngannou, like he just was a jelly bag. He's a bag of milk.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He certainly was just so intimidating during the Pride years, but they practically insisted on steroid use in those days, from what I've heard. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Poster boy for all of that stuff. Joe Rogan is certainly normalized taking testosterone like it's like you're taking vitamin C tablets. I think it's a bit weird, to be honest. Like it's got to come back and bite you in the ass in some way.
Well, it does take away your hair, so
Right.
he is an example of that. In fairness to him.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm kind of attached to my hair. I don't think I could do that.
Kind of grows on me. Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, we're doing commentary for it later on. We did it for the last events. We had a guy on before, Eric Anders. He's fighting again tonight. I think with the same guy, because last time he threw an illegal knee. Like your man drops to his knees after like whatever happened, and then he throws a knee to the head, which is an illegal shot. But I think in Pride, again, that would have been encouraged.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, they had the ring instead of the cage, I think, and the stomping and the soccer kicks and stuff.
Yeah,
yeah. That was always
all they needed was sticks to be thrown in there.
Pride.
It was gladiators.
What's that?
I said all they needed to do was throw sticks in with the guys, and it would be gladiators.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was amazing. Such a spectacle. Those Pride years. But now, I mean, they have one FC. I thought knees on the ground were legal. Sometimes, isn't that how the greatest of all time? Oh gosh, I can't believe I've gone blank. No, still, yeah. Mighty Mouse.
Oh,
Mighty Mouse. He went over to ONE FC and got knocked out with a knee to the face while he was down. Am I correct in thinking that?
I had to remind myself what that is.
Yeah, Mighty Mouse Johnson.
Demetrius Johnson?
Demetrius Johnson, yeah.
How did he lose? Well, his most recent one was his most recent loss was decision.
All right. Well, I might be wrong on
Or
that.
yeah,
But yeah, One FC have some pretty spectacular fights. They mix in the Muay Thai in the cage as well, which is always spectacular.
yeah. It's kind of amazing, like all the fighting places there are and how the rules change. Like I don't know if you're familiar with that one recently, bare knuckle boxing. Fuck.
Yeah, I
That's how you get your
I don't
head just burst.
sure. It's how you. I mean, I don't really. It's not the blood and the violence that is the sole attraction for combat sport for me. I think it's the fact that I love martial arts and I like to see the skill and like to see the technique. Um, and bare knuckle boxing, I just don't really get it. Like it's intense to watch, but no fighter that wants a long career is, going to get
Yeah.
one bare knuckle boxing. It's just forget about your face and think about your hands.
Oh yeah.
Like your hands just can't take that kind of punishment. And what's the point? You know,
Mm.
you want to see fighters' careers last a long time, and yeah, I just don't. I mean, that's pretty much the way it goes with those bare knuckle
Yeah.
organizations, isn't it? They pick up the retired fighters, and you have
Yep.
a few
They grabbed this
super
guy.
fights. And
Remember this guy from UFC back in the day, Chris Lieben?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
They grabbed.
Actually, I do
We had him on, and just before he did this fight, and there he
really.
was there, and dude, like he was basically saying, yeah, like it's just because he's retired from the UFC, he's done with MMA, but at least with boxing, or bare knuckle boxing, you can go into it a bit longer, like later in your career. And he,
Yep,
in fairness to him, he won first round. Like there it is, there
really.
first round, your man was gone like a light.
Woo,
But he looks like a mean motherfucker, doesn't he?
sure. I mean, there's no doubt about it, right?
But he's lovely to talk to. In fairness to him, but yeah, that's what they do. They get a lot of these guys who are finished with boxing, finished um, with MMA, and they just kind of hop in because you know yourself when it comes to like UFC and all that. Your prime, once it's gone, you're kind of gone. Like Anderson Silva stuck around too long, but if you put him in bare knuckle boxing, he'd
Sure.
probably do all right because he's not trying to dodge a flying knee. He's not trying to dodge blank. He's just his fists and his ability to dodge.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess your cardio doesn't quite have to be at that same level for MMA, and but I don't know. It's just it's quite a brutal. I don't know. I just I want to watch fighters in their prime. That's the other thing. When I watch combat sport, I don't really want to. I'm not sitting there waiting for the big KO all the time. Like I'd like to see some skill, which yeah. Don't get me wrong. I always watch the highlights,
Yeah,
but
in fairness.
yeah, like I don't. It doesn't captivate me like a really well matched pair of fighters in their prime. That go the distance, and that's really yeah.
Yeah.
Where the appeal is for me. But it's all more interesting than ball sports. Don't get,
Dude, literally. I
yeah.
cannot stand. I used to just not like sports, and then I did kickboxing. I thought, okay, this is cool. I never watched any of it after, but then I did archery. It was pretty fun. Go maybe watch the what's it called, the Lancaster events,
Yeah, I've watched them.
and then some
Didn't
jiu-jitsu.
captivate me the same way.
Yeah, but then you watch the UFC after doing a bit of martial arts again, and whew,
Yeah,
even if you're thinking of fighters like doing terrible, or Like your least favorite fighter in their worst round would still maul you and two of your best friends. Like that's the way I see it. Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
like people are kind of like shitting on Marvin Vittori, the guy who's challenging Israel tonight. Like, dude,
You
him on
never
his
know.
worst day, he would take out an entire pub on his worst day. That guy's a machine.
Yeah, I'm sure it should give them a good go. Yeah. Look, it's just it's spectacular to watch. It's the variety of it, and yeah, I love the grappling element to it as well. But it's just there's so many skills to master, and yeah, that's what makes it so appealing. I mean, I really get into watching boxing as well.
Oh, how about the
Uh,
recent ones?
well, yeah, not so much recently. Like
Did you see him?
um, the the Logan Paul exhibition fights. Are you talking about?
Yeah, that and the Jake Paul one.
Yeah, Jake Paul one. I can't tell them apart to be honest, but I yeah, I'm not into that. I really not. Like I said, I like to watch it for the skill.
Mm.
Um, so there's no skills involved. It's
Logan did
not
exact.
appealing.
Yeah, Logan did exactly what he should have though. Like you're going in against a smaller guy. You're going in against Floyd Mayweather. What's he like, a natural 155? And like if the
He's got to
limit
be.
was
Yeah,
190, dude, I would pack on every single pound I could. I would cut weight on the day. I would just go in trying to look like Hercules because there's no amount of training you could do to try beat Floyd Mayweather. Putting on weight like that, you'd probably have a bit of a chance.
sure. I mean, yeah, it
Like
wasn't
nature's
the real
on Logan's
fight
side.
though. That's the whole
Mm.
the thing that really stops me from wanting to watch is uh it's not real. Like, you
In
know,
fairness.
yeah.
And then Ben
Yeah,
Askren versus Jake Paul was just a heartbreak.
sure. I mean, it surprises me. It's testament to the power of grappling and wrestling that someone can get to uh, the highest level of mixed martial arts competition and have such poor striking skills if you just understand wrestling and can you know master that. It really does control where fights take place. But I did find it surprising that your boxing skills are so lacking despite being at that high level. But whatever. I mean, the really ironic thing is they make more money from these exhibition matches and these pseudo play fights, than they do in their real fights during their career. It's so you can't blame them.
Yeah, in fairness. I think we talked about this yesterday. We put comedian Paul Roseberry on, and we're saying like it's about sustainability when it comes to fighter pay. Like the
Hmm.
UFC employs how many guys, gets how many pay-per-views, but then that you add their production value, like they have these, like even just the small things, like they set up these giant vlogs. They buy hotels for the guys to quarantine in because of COVID. They bought an island so that people could continue fighting. Blah 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 blah. Now that's a more sustainable business model. And like these, they sign these guys on with like contracts. They get the bonus if they win, knockout, whatever. Um, but then like you add Logan Paul versus you know Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather got paid 100 million. Logan got 20 million. That's not going to be sustainable at all. Like you could not do a fight every weekend like that the way the UFC does and pay that kind of money.
Sure. No, no doubt. Um,
You'd be making billionaires from 10 fight contracts. Like not bad.
yeah, no, it's not bad. Um, can't I mean you can't argue with those numbers, right? Like,
Well, so I'll sign up any day. Like, but
Yeah,
You know.
I get my butt kicked for $20 million.
Oh,
You know, just show me where to sign.
that's it, literally. Yeah, when you do martial arts, like you're a jiu-jitsu guy, aren't you?
Well, I love jiu-jitsu, but I wouldn't say I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. Yeah, I've really enjoyed training in jiu-jitsu and submission grappling and stuff like that. I've always done it through in kind of more of an MMA scene, yeah, and through kung fu schools that also do jiu-jitsu, yeah. So Wing Chun Kung Fu is probably what I've studied most.
Not bad. I think when Bruce Buffer was on, he said he did that.
Oh,
But,
really?
yeah,
Cool.
but then he got to train with Hoist Gracie one day, like when he was like starting off,
Wow.
and he goes down with him. They do a bit of sparring, but then like he says to get up, and he says, "Bruce, you're a kickboxer, right?" Says, "Yeah," and I want you to go at me, like as hard as you can. Try knock me out. And he's like, "Are you for fucking real?" And he goes for it, but then nearly instantly, he gets tripped down, he gets put in the lock, and then he gets told tap tap tap, and he does, and then Hoist goes to him like, "See, isn't it great not to be hit in the face?" Like it's such like an amazing thing for martial arts at the time. The fact you could win a fight without even throwing a punch.
Yeah, really. I mean, I remember watching the first UFCs. Yeah, after years of reading, martial arts magazines and was always the question, people wanted to answer, and was just incredible to see it happen in real life like that. And it's definitely, that's the appeal of a martial art like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is, and it is the same appeal for me for Wing Chun because they're very similar. Um, they're martial arts that are designed to work, and um, and when you get a good teacher, uh, and you work hard at it, they really do. They really do work. Yeah, they're techniques designed to get you out of a pinch. So you're fighting more than one person, or you're fighting someone bigger than you, and
Mm.
um,
And you can still
to,
win, which is like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
unheard of.
you can still survive. Like, and that's you know, that's a very powerful thing to. It's very empowering as well, especially when you're younger, to know that you can, defend yourself and um, yeah, it's empowering for me as a vision impaired person when I was younger, to find martial arts um, that enabled me to participate and compete on a more or less even playing field. Once you get close enough to grapple, then um, it really is. It's more of a knowledge competition, and
You're exactly
this
right. It's like
strategy,
chess.
like, yeah, there's you hear about the puncher's chance, and that's always a possibility where you might have an expert striker, but even if their opponent isn't as skillful in striking, they still have a puncher's chance. You might just not see that one haymaker or
I did
um
not know that's where that phrase came from.
really.
Because Bruce was like plugging his whiskey when he was
Oh
on.
yeah,
And it's called Puncher's Chance. I'd never heard that before. And that's where
really.
it comes from.
I reckon that's where it comes from. Yeah,
That's
that's where
that's
I would
interesting
think
now.
so. Yeah, I
How are we getting
mean,
on? Jesus, can we see Andrew's bow? Which one?
oh, what's that?
Someone's asking if they can see your bow.
All right, let's go and have a look.
And while we're here, how are we getting on, neighbor? Teddy, M. McQueen, how you getting on? And Jesus is hanging out, looking to see an old bow. Jeez, which one? That's the question.
Yeah, well, there are a few at the moment. I've been really enjoying this guy. I don't know if you can see that,
I like the recurve on
Gerard.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the static recurve. It's the Bear K4 static recurve. So it's modeled off
Are you
a bow
shooting off
from.
leather or fur?
Pardon?
Are you shooting off leather or fur as your rest?
Leather. Yeah, leather with this one. But yeah, I've been enjoying the Orcible and the Kodiak recently, and this guy, it's been a favorite for some time now. It's the A-Mag Riser. They're all Bear bows. Still working my way through the Bear collection.
There's a lot.
Yeah, it's my little range in here. It's a bit messy at the moment. Yeah.
It's interesting when people bring up like who might have been like the best archer of all time. There's like only two names you can really bring up, maybe three, and it's Fred Bear and Cameron Haynes.
Oh, really? I wouldn't even know to. Yes, I mean that's a really tough one, right? Was Fred Bear really that? I mean, he was prolific. I don't know if he was doing any trick shots or anything. Like, he certainly produced an amazing amount of content and little doco films and promoted archery a lot. But yeah, it's hard to imagine how they'd go in a tournament.
Yeah, well, I think Cameron would win. In fairness, he's a compound shooter. Yeah, and he'd be younger, so
Yeah.
and alive. Yeah. But for Fred Bear, like he's known for reputation alone, basically at this point. And if he's still going on reputation alone, he's a beast.
Yes, well, yeah, you can't deny that. Yeah, it's been interesting recently. I really got into Bear bows and as in BEAR.
Yeah, I'll just bring that up so people have an idea.
And I think it's testament to their really to the marketing that Fred Bear put into the company early on, that they have a range and collection of traditional bows that I don't know, just really appealed to me when I first started getting into archery, and I get into a sort of place where it really bites my collecting. Like, it gets me really into the whole desire to collect, and that definitely happened with Bear. You can still buy a lot of their vintage bows. They're still out there and shooting as good as ever, and so there's this whole back stock of Bear bows, and there's a great range of modern ones that sort of overlap, and you think, well, I'd like to try that one, and I'd like to try that one. And
man, once you get into archery, that's literally it. Like you're a kid in a candy store. You go to a bow store, you want everything. You man, if you go to a Lancaster place, you're literally like you're a kid in a penny sweet shop. You're gonna want everything.
It's true, though. It's true, and I mean, more recently, I've Bear have copped a lot of flack recently because of their quality control issues and performance issues, and I think it's totally it's really not unwarranted criticism for the most part. but I still really enjoy shooting their bows. And like I said, I just got into collecting them early on, and I'm still working my way through trying to understand all the little quirks, and it's amazing how at some point you think, I just don't like that bow. It feels weird. It loads the weight strangely, or it has a bit too much hand shock me at the moment, or it just shoots like crap when I'm using it. But then I return to it after a few months, or maybe even a year of not really playing around with it, and I find like I've moved on a bit. I've my form, my technique has improved a bit, or changed in some way, and I'm probably getting stronger in areas, and all of a sudden, I'm starting to get the feel of this bow that I once really didn't like, and now I'm becoming my favorite bow, and I'm shooting really well with it. So that's been an interesting process to go through, because look, if I had the money, I'd just keep buying new bows. But there comes a point where you've got to just be
you have to eat at
grateful
some
for
point.
what you've got. And what's that?
I said, I suppose sometimes you actually have to eat, put food on the table, pay rent,
exactly. Yeah,
have
those
electricity, but such is life.
Exactly. So, yeah. I think I'm still got a very big wish list of bows to come, and it's about time I get myself an ILF bow of some sort. So I'm looking at Gilo. I'm looking at border bows.
I've shot Gilo and Border. They're spot on. I've been to the
Yeah.
Border workshop.
Really cool.
They're
I love
nice
their
guys.
bows. They are really cool.
The fact that they can make recurves that have let off, and like these hyper recurves, they curl into themselves.
Yeah,
like,
super
it's crazy.
recurves. Yeah, they're scary actually. I mean, I just think I hope your hook's just right. You don't want to be torquing the string on a bow with limbs like that.
Yeah.
But I reckon if you've got a good hook and a good release, it'd be a great advantage. So one day I'll have a super recurve from Border bows. Yeah, they also make limbs for bear bows.
Dude, it's not a bad idea.
They don't expressly advertise that, but they do.
Little secret.
So that's kind of cool.
Tip.
Yeah.
Jesus over here is saying he feels like archery is an expensive sport, and I think the pair of us can say yes.
Yeah, it certainly
Find me a bow
be.
under £100.
Well,
a shootable one.
It's difficult, right? All right. You could say the same about a lot of things, Find me. You want to take up. You want to learn the guitar. Find a guitar under £100 that isn't a toy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Find a good set of paints, easel and canvas, and all that stuff. Whatever you want to do.
That's more subjective. You can do pretty well with, pretty minimal art supplies.
Look, that's true. Poor example. Point taken.
I mean, I guess computers are an example.
Oh yeah, give me a
£100 computer.
Yeah, forget about it. But it's one of those things that I think if you want to get into archery, the initial outlay can be a little expensive, or can certainly seem like that. But it is a weapon, and even if it's a low draw weight, it's still a deadly weapon. even if you're only planning on doing target archery, like don't skimp too much on something like that. And if you buy something reasonable, it doesn't have to be hundreds of dollars. Like then you'll have it for a while, and you'll give yourself a good chance of getting into the sport, or however you want to get into archery. I think if you buy too cheap, you're going to taint the experience, and it's not going to be a legitimate experience, and you might find that it's ultimately not particularly satisfying. But that doesn't mean you have to buy super expensive stuff. But like you well know, the sky is the limit with archery, and there's always seems to be something I'm missing, and but you don't have to buy top shelf everything to enjoy archery. Certainly not. What would you say is the most important thing to spend money on?
Consistency, I suppose.
Right.
I don't buy a set of this and a set of that because it was cheap. You want to be pretty consistent, because archery, it's the art of consistency. You might want to get a tab instead of a glove because it's more consistent, and you'll be a better shot. You might want to get a heavier bow. You might be a little bit better. Whatever. Like, I wouldn't mess around too much if I was an archer. Like, I wouldn't be changing my equipment, because a lot of people in my division would do that.
Well,
they
that's how
might
you
get,
end up spending a lot of money too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, even with your arrows or whatever, initially buy cheap, but you'll find out why they're cheap fairly soon. They hit something a bit too hard, might hit the wood on a target.
Yeah, I agree with that. With arrows, certainly. A good set of carbon arrows will pay for themselves in the long run.
And do not start with wooden arrows like I did.
No, they'll be good down the track. I really look forward to making them when I have the space, but I wouldn't want to start with them. I started with aluminium arrows, which are not that
even
bad.
Worse.
You think they're worse?
You hit a stone with that thing. It's like a tin can.
Yep. You break a lot of them. But I find early on you lose a lot as well. And you don't want to be losing too many expensive carbon arrows. So the cheap ones, they'll break, but you might save a bit in the beginning when you're losing them more regularly, perhaps. But it's hard to know. I mean, I've just on the topic of tabs and gloves, I've bought so many over the years. It's really became an obsession for me. And just recently, I've really committed to the tab, and that's been really fun.
Good lad.
Look! Whichever way you go, I think. Like, obviously, we all know that tabs are cleaner. If that was disputed in any way, then you'd see the odd glove at the Olympics. You just don't see that anymore. And if you try it, you'll see, if you really give it a go, it's definitely a cleaner choice. But there's something so comforting about a nice, soft glove. It's a really hard habit to break. I don't know what it is. I think it's the way the string bites into the glove, and it doesn't feel like it's going to slip off.
It's kind of a connection thing, like a closeness to the bow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's one of those primal things. I talked with Kai about this. Like with instinctive shooting, some people reckon it's because we've been around bows for so long and they've been invented separately 7 different times, that maybe it is something within people when it comes to archery.
Maybe.
Could be. Who knows? I don't. But quick question from Jesus over here saying, quick question. So what would be best? A carbon bow and arrows. How do you mean? Like carbon arrows and a carbon bow? Well, you can have a bow made out of anything. But carbon arrows, they're going to last you. They last you a long time. You break them very rarely.
Definitely. Yeah. Most of the time when I'm down a few carbon arrows, it's only because I've lost them. Yeah, I shoot carbon arrows pretty much exclusively these days, and like you, Jared, I'm in the forest and hitting tree stumps and occasionally rocks, and they hold up really, really well. They don't dent or bend like aluminium arrows do, and they don't splinter like
they
wooden.
Keep their shape or they explode.
Yeah. You'll know if you have a broken carbon arrow. You flex them and they'll creak, and the crack will be very obvious. But they won't. A good quality one, won't splinter like a carbon fiber arrow. I'd say and you can get them. I mean, the gold tip traditional ones are. I don't think they're that expensive, to be honest. Like,
but you're just faking. You're just caughting yourself saying that I'm shooting wood when they're carbon. Like, okay, they put a sticker on your wooden arrow or on your carbon arrow and charged you more.
You think so?
That's what I think. That's kind of you kind of made fun of over here if you did that.
Oh, really? Get made fun of the traditional carbons? Jeez, guys are harsh.
Well, I suppose it's because like there's no like traditional carbon section. Like you'd still be in bow hunter recurve, which is this, and you'd be putting yourself at a disadvantage because you'd be shooting a traditional bow with carbon arrows when he can have, you can have a button, you can have a weight, you can have like some proper limbs over there.
Right.
Yeah. But Jesus is asking, what would be your preference when it comes to? I think he's asking when it comes to bows and arrows. Like, what's your setup? What would be your go-to?
Well, carbon arrows all the time. Yeah. And I don't have any bows that have carbon limbs, so mine are all wood cores with fiberglass laminated limbs. But I don't think I have any aluminium or wooden arrows at the moment in my stash. They're all gold tip traditional arrows, very tough and cheap, and they do look like wood, which is nice.
I will make fun of you.
Well, you can go for it. I don't mind.
When it comes to my setup, my riser's made entirely of aluminium, and then has steel weights in it. It's carbon limbs, and so I originally shot like that K3 setup I used to have, and it was just carbon. But the problem I found with it was it would chip a lot. Like if you blew on this thing too hard, it would chip, and I was getting to a point where I was like, it looks terrible, and I've had it for how many years? And even at that, it was like beginner entry level when I bought it and old. So it's time to move on. But like bows like that would still be like super cheap right now. If you want to get like an outdated recurve, it's still like way above. Like they're really, really well to be using. So Jesus, if I were you trying to get into archery, Jesus Lazaro, I'd look for someone who's selling basically someone who doesn't know anything about archery selling an old bow. Try find something like that. Try find, I don't know, Craigslist kind of stuff. People selling bows. Because if you go on eBay, you go on whatever, trying to get a proper setup, you're going to get scammed or it's going to be overcharged. Like when you go on Wish and you see a $37 Mongolian horse bow, that thing's going to explode when you touch it.
Yeah.
Or you ever see the advertisements for those things and the strings on backwards?
Yeah, it's always a red flag right
Yeah.
there.
But Jesus, you know how to contact myself. So if you ever look in archery, give us a shout. Um, yeah, okay, it's such a brilliant sport. It's so good for your mental health. Um,
That's true.
it kind of helps you like de-stress. Well, for some people they stress about it, but myself, I
It can do
de-stress,
that.
do a bit of
Yep.
breath work. Yeah, you know Wim Hof. Been looking at his breathing stuff recently, and
All right.
like that's seriously been helping on the on the field. Like, you know, I'd be a bit shaky beforehand. I'd do a bit of that, and I'd be good
Cool.
after. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to check that out. Um,
Samantha Dotson, how are you getting on, Samantha? Long time no see. Shooting with a shoddy bow is a good way to lose an eye. Always double check your sellers. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, just absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to be like, I've seen people show up with like wish bows and go home very sad about it. Or people buy like these cheap, what they think is a carbon arrow, but when you hold it, it's like a rubber kind of thing. When they buy them off
Wow.
Wish, they're not going to last. They won't do very well.
Yeah, arrows. I would never cheap out on arrows. Um, there's just too much risk to it
Especially
blowing up
with a high
when you're
poundage
shooting
bow.
it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just not worth cheaping out on them. They're frustrating. If they're breaking when you're shooting them from the impact, if the fletchers are dodgy, if the components are dodged, the knocks break. I mean, it's just such a dangerous thing not to have, not to be able to rely on, and always test your. Even though I have good arrows, I always test them before I shoot them with a little flex, especially when you're stumping. You just don't know what happened to that last shot. Did it, yeah, something crack? Did another arrow, yeah, make contact with it? Yeah, really important, especially when you're using blunts in the bush as well for stumping, and you can just what would have been a glance off with a field point or something can end up cracking or damaging other arrows. So,
Yeah. In
yeah,
fairness, never really got into stumping over here because
really.
you'd be out in the woods anyway, and there's treaty targets. So like
Oh, nice.
you'd never really think of stumping. There's always a target there.
Oh, that's good.
Now the accidental stumping is a different conversation.
Right.
Like I was practicing yesterday, and in fairness, it wasn't me who was shooting the stumps, but I seemed to be a curse when I was with everyone there. You know,
Oh, really?
my brother was shooting. He has got himself a compound.
Mm-hmm.
Stump, stump, stump. And my dad would follow the arrow afterwards. Stump.
Really?
Fun time digging those out. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet with field points. Yeah, not much fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, what's worse is
yeah.
thinking a stump might be dead. It's kind of like, you know, soft, but then you get to where your arrow isn't deeper. It's solid.
Yep.
It's like normal wood. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that over here. You have to kind of be careful because all of our native woods are very hard. So yeah, you can crack some arrows that way.
Oh yeah. Breaking an arrow is arguably better than losing it, because at least if it breaks, you know
Yeah.
you know it's over.
It's true, and
You get
there's
closure.
usually you get a bit of closure. There's usually some components you can salvage. Take the tip, take the knock, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll open this up if anyone wants to join. We'll probably do 5 more minutes and head off. What time is it for you now? Like eight something?
Yeah. 8 something exactly.
Definitely woken up.
Yeah, I think I've woken up a little bit. The coffee has taken effect.
Do you ever have coffee before shooting?
Yeah, I have coffee before anything. It's the first thing that happens in the morning is coffee, and then several other moments throughout the day. It's very important, coffee.
It's kind of like in Lord of the Rings, they had like breakfast and second breakfast, so coffee and second coffee.
Exactly. Second
Yeah.
coffee is just, yeah, second coffee before first breakfast, even.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're big coffee drinkers in Australia, but definitely Melbourne. Get some very good coffee in Melbourne.
Doing intermittent fasting, like doing 18
Oh,
6,
really?
and
Okay, cool.
basically stop with coffee. Like I've been doing it just over a week. I think the last 4 days I haven't had a coffee. I had one cup of tea. Just
Oy. Can't have
like,
coffee on that.
well, you could. You probably have a black coffee, but I just think like I'm fine. I have a bit of water in me. I'm not actually tired. I have a lot more energy. I don't actually need
Cool.
it.
Nice.
You ever give that a go?
I have done the intermittent fasting before. I'm pretty sure I kept up the coffee.
Power
Yeah, I
to you.
got no plans to. I have practically black anyway. But yeah, no, might have to give it another go. It's been a bit difficult to maintain strict diets at the moment. The lockdown
Dude,
has sent me back into a bit of comfort eating. I got to admit.
I ended up putting on 40 pounds in
Oh, that's
quarantine.
good effort. Good effort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went from 145 to 185. And in fairness, I've dropped down a fair bit. I'm like 172. So get back to 155, and I'll be happy.
Nice.
Yeah, but like you're sitting around doing nothing for a year. Like you just wouldn't even realize.
Yeah.
Like I was waking up doing college every morning, and besides
Yeah.
that, life was a bit of study and what's for dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I was much in the same boat there. Were you able to get any shooting at home, or do you have space for that?
See, I've had it said to me a couple of times, like I'm in like a tiny garden. I got 17 yards to shoot with,
Right.
but on the edge of that 17 yards is a neighbor's fence on either
Yeah.
side. Do I want to risk shooting into a neighbor's fence?
Yeah, I think you made a good good choice there.
Yeah.
It is a big risk. I think you have to be really, really sensible when you
Yeah.
decide to shoot at home in the backyard. I mean, it's legal where I live. I've got about the same tiny little courtyard. I shoot in the garage with a big plywood sort of back stop that I actually built it when I was living in an apartment last year, and it worked all right. It's got big archery netting as well. To basically, it's a foolproof, system designed to stop arrows going anywhere you don't want them to. But
Good
yeah,
thing to have.
no, no, no escaped arrows. Well, I'm renting, so yeah. I mean, I can't afford that to happen. But obviously, the safety factor is more important than that, even. So, yeah, I think you've got to be pretty sensible when you decide to shoot at home. And you see it. You've seen it a lot in the last year because people have been in our situation where you've been in lockdown, and archery is one of those things that you really want to do on a regular basis to keep up your form. But yeah, I feel like sometimes it just looks way too risky. Even shooting indoors, you forget how much penetration an arrow can have, and
Seriously, yeah.
it go right through the next room into the room next to that. I mean, you just, especially from compound bows and things like that, without.
But you find compound shooters shoot indoors more. I suppose they're more accurate.
Well, I guess, but you know, there's always the chance of equipment malfunctioning. Yeah, you just don't know, and it's totally not worth taking the risk if it's too much of a risk. So you just had that whole time off.
Yeah,
shooting.
people
Gee,
couldn't believe I took the whole thing off. I
pretty
couldn't believe it in
impressive.
the end.
Yeah, that must have been really intense coming back to it.
Yeah, yeah, it's been rough. I know. I knew I had a competition this week, so I kind of been taking it pretty serious. A lot of doing weights and
Yeah, cool.
body weight exercises. Just trying to get
Yeah,
to a point where like I'll be confident shooting, and then going out to
yeah,
shoot, seeing like if I'm fasting, will it affect my shooting? And I
it's
found it
interesting.
affected it more positively because I suppose my blood sugars were more stable, and I
Okay.
had no coffee. And I could have I I think my third time out shooting, I was like, I could be a surgeon today. I could be a fucking surgeon today. I was so steady, like it just if hay fever would leave me alone, like which is what I'm suffering from right now. Yeah,
That's amazing.
and Samantha over
Sometimes
here
a
is saying, "We're gone."
sometimes a break like that can really be um, revitalizing in a way. You know, you're able to um, make a break from some bad habits that might have built up, or things like that.
Yeah. Well, in a perfect world, that would happen. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so Samantha saying compound shooters are only more accurate because the bow does half the work. Well, in fairness, once you pull it back a little bit, you get the resistance kind of goes away. There's a sight there. Yeah, it's a very efficient tool. Maybe it doesn't do all the work, but it gets close.
Well, I guess that's where the I think of it like if you were shooting compound competitions, it must become a lot more. Um, and you say this to compound shooters, and usually you'll start some kind of argument. But I think it's pretty clear that when you have a lot of technological advantages that make your shooting easier, peep sights and
Sights.
let off and all that sort of stuff, it just places the emphasis on on your mental strength more, because you're expecting to get those extremely accurate results. So I can imagine you become a lot more mentally fatigued shooting compound than whereas with recurve or bare bow, you just
It's a bit easier, in fairness.
well, in many ways, I think you have more control over what you're doing. There's less equipment to adjust. So, I mean, I don't compete, but I certainly enjoy it from the perspective that when I do find success, it's a lot more rewarding compared to if I don't have success. I can imagine shooting compound, you might find that really discouraging. If that makes any sense, like you're expected to be super accurate, so anytime you're not,
Dude,
it's yeah,
I've seen people like miss and go home. Like I've seen
yeah,
compounders
yeah,
get a blank on a target and go home.
yeah. Well, I
When I
mean,
was in
maybe you should.
the European Championships, um, the top every compounder who was on like the leaderboard, the top 8 guys had a perfect score. So it was done
Yeah,
by how many got like the X You know, like the inner circle. So whoever had those inner circles. So if you missed one shot, you were gone from that top list. Like, and there was a lot
Yeah.
of guys there who were like they just missed one,
I couldn't do it.
and
It just doesn't. It's
or
not fun. Doesn't appeal to me.
very notably, guys who
Mm.
had perfect score on the first day, perfect score second day, or no, like down a point on the second day, blank, because they didn't show up and finish it. Like,
Yeah, just you've missed your chance. It's
but at that
more
point, you just want
about
to have fun with it.
well, exactly. Yeah, and I guess that's the challenge, right? That's what appeals to people is that it is so mentally demanding to keep doing that and yeah, shot after shot. Like I don't know how people
What
at
we
that
shoot
level
is more
manage it.
forgiving. Like you're not expected to hit every single target and get the X every time. You know, if you're shooting with someone who shoots like flat bow and they miss, you're not going to be like in shock and awe, and they're going to be like, okay,
No.
next arrow. But if you shoot someone with a compound like the full setup and they miss, you're going to be like, if they miss multiple times, you'd really be questioning it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, who gave you that? Is that yours? It's your first time.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Manuel in here. We're gonna let Manuel come in, maybe ask some archery questions, and we'll call it quits.
Idea.
How you getting on, Manuel?
Hey, what's up? Long time.
It's been a minute. You got any archery
Yeah.
questions? I don't take you as being a big archery guy.
Not much, just more so like, because I studied history. We studied military history, so we saw the evolution of weapons. So I'm not sure if he had the chance to shoot like, medieval type bow or arrows.
Yeah, not really, mate. I haven't had any experience shooting English longbows or what you might call a war bow, something with a really
Like
heavy
100 pounds,
draw
150
weight.
pounds.
Yeah, like a Mongolian bow or Turkish bow in that range. No, it's not something I've really dabbled with. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're fun.
Plenty of time for that.
I'll pull up something now. Got a buddy over here. He's been on the show before. One of the very first guests, Jack Pinson. Got to shoot some of his custom made bows. He does English longbow. So
I'd really like to get my hands on a nice
there he
English
is there.
longbow.
He's a bit of a beast, so he is. I'm almost certain I took that picture for him. This one here. If it would stop being so grainy. Where's the picture of myself and himself?
Of yourself?
Yeah, I got to do a bit of shooting with him before. He was at funny enough, the competition I'm going to this weekend, it was at an old version of that, and he showed up and we were shooting. So let me take a look now.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask how different it is, like shooting those types of bows and arrows compared to the ones that we actually have for competition in Olympics. And like they're carbon fiber composed. They have like multiple.
Well, I mean, this is this is like as basic as it gets. It's a stick and a string, really. And then over here is a picture of my dad. Fair play to him. That's his old setup there. So he's got a stabilizer. He's got limb sabers to dampen any kind of, I guess, vibrations. It's very blurry, but he's got like these carbon limbs. He's got a nice carbon frame that's going to take up a lot of the shock. He's got a nice pistol grip on it rather than a flat surface like on this. So this is definitely going to be more accurate, but this would be way faster, in fairness. But it's not even known for being faster. Like English longbow was just known to shoot arrows a long distance. Like you're looking at horse bow and all to really be fast. But yeah, Jack's bows are amazing. I really wanted the one he's holding there because it had some character to it. But it was sold very fast. I think it was sold that day. Yeah. But yeah, some of those historical bows are some of the most fun you'll ever shoot. Like if you ever get the chance.
Yeah, just wanted to know.
Yeah.
Hey, you got yours
Trad's
in the
pretty
back.
close.
You got yours in the back, Kieran?
That's actually my dad's new one. For some reason, my room's become a bit of a storage room for bows. Yeah, so another thing that's different on that is like, is this little button there
Yeah.
stops the archer's paradox. Apparently, what's supposed to
Oh.
do. But you get again like that's just a full carbon setup, nice bit of weight to it, and then it's got a metal rest or a raised rest, so it's not relying on like the feathers to bounce it up. But it's a lot more consistent because when you're shooting off your hand on a longbow, your hand placement can change every time you move. Like, so it'll never be the same shot. A wooden arrow is again like a wooden arrow has been shot a couple of times. It's not the same arrow. It'll have a couple changes to it. Might be shaped like a banana. But then carbon, you're not going to fail. And if you do, I don't know how.
Well,
It'll be critical failure if you do.
I think that's with skill, training.
Yeah.
Everything is training.
But the thing is, like, it doesn't matter if you shot this. You shoot Andy's bow, you shoot my bow, or one of the long bows. That doesn't do it for you. Like you need to figure it out yourself. Like all the ones I just named there, they're unsighted. It's really a guessing game. It's a fancy guessing game. So however way you do it, and I'm still amazed that you do it, Andy, because like, you got this thing going on with your eyes, monochromatism. I'll say it right one day.
No,
but,
it's close. Yeah.
And then you shoot as well as you do. Like it.
Well,
it's something to behold.
On a good day, yeah.
Yeah.
It's archery is just one of those things that you you quickly learn that you have to be okay with being imperfect on a regular basis. It's not one of those things that you're going to pick up and always be completely in charge. Some days it's going to own you, and it feels like you've taken 2 big steps back, and you have to just keep at it, and gradually, you find a bit of consistency. But it certainly, for me, it's not one of those things that happens all the time, and I have to really work to get into good form. If I have something coming up, like a hunt or something like that, and then it's for me it's constant work. Like when I'm away, I'll be practicing. Before we head out in the evening, I want to have a few practice shots. It's just one of those things you just can't seem to stop practicing, and I think it's that imperfection every time that really hooks you. I've never had something that I find it so hard to walk away when I'm sucking at it. Like,
that's it.
I'd be like, I'm not leaving until I, get a decent result. Like, and a lot of the time, other things I've been passionate about, kind of, I want to call it a day when I start to see that decline, but not with archery. It just, it really, really drives you. So, I guess it's, you set your own limitations as well. You decide what kind of competition you might want to go into. If you're into the competitive side, you decide what distance you want to shoot at. If you're just having fun, and where you want to put those standards for yourself. And it's one of the really rewarding things about archery is finding where that satisfaction is, because it's different for everyone, you know.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, you don't get to see all the missed shots because my Instagram
we'll never show you.
nothing. It's just too many, man. It's too many. It's all you'd be watching. Yeah. So
It's
Like when I talk to trick shotters, they're like, yeah, it took 20 times, took 50, 150 times to get the shot.
yeah.
But they'll never post like the fail because
no.
Well, I don't want to
wants to
see
see
all
a
the
miss.
fails. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
it's like
I don't want to see
unless it's a
150
funny fail.
fails.
Unless it's a
for
funny
one.
fail they posted, but other than that, it's like you think that's their first try if it is a funny fail, but no.
I mean, you don't go to a music concert and think they probably just walked out on stage and like nailed that for the first time. It's like hundreds of hours of rehearsal and development behind all of that. So, you know, it doesn't devalue it to me if you pull off something really cool after 150 tries. Like you still had the tenacity to stick at it. But yeah, it's just the reality of archery.
That's it.
It's a really simple goal, and it's really, really hard.
That's it. So we're gonna call it quits. I'll chat to you after, Manuel. Have a good one.
All right. See you.
Good luck.
Good to talk to you.
Oh, cut him off a little bit too early. And yeah, so if people want to check you out, Andy, where can I find you?
You can find me on Instagram, nocturnal_archer. It's my handle, and that's where I am most of the time. So, yeah, ask me anything archery related. We'll be very happy to talk archery with you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to chat with you again, Jared. It's been too long.
Third time lucky.
Yeah.
It's always good crack to have a chat with you. I really wish I wouldn't have to mess with the time zone like that.
I know it's brutal different. Yeah. Never mind. We make it work.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to check out, they know where to find you. I have a link below if you want to go check out Andy. Post some good content as from a unique perspective. So there you go. All right, take it, Andy. Good luck.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, mate. See you. Cheers. See ya.